Auntie got time this motherfucking morning. I have man fatigue. I'm so tired. Me, right? I'm so fucking tired of these raggedy, dusty, bitch ass mother wound having, insecure having, little schmeeness energy having motherfuckers. I'm so tired of them. And I wish they would just, you know how Thanos snapped and like half the fucking population turned to dust? I wish the dusties returned to the dust from which they were created. You know what I find so hilarious? That all these men petitioned to have my head put in a fucking box, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, no, the red pill is actually dangerous and detrimental to our relationships. No shit, bitch. These insecure, not getting coochie ass motherfuckers got on the internet and spewed their insecurity. And because y'all identified with being so fucking insecure, you did not want to take personal responsibility that insecurity is something that you need to work on yourself. So, because you're insecure, y'all decided that y'all wanted to spend years and years and years blaming women for your problems. And then now it's like, oh, the male loneliness epidemic, bitch, that's y'all fault. You suck. And I told y'all this 3 fucking years ago. And now, presently, a lot of men are like, oh my gosh, the red pill was so detrimental. Yeah, duh, you fucking idiot. And so I've been, attempting to date, kind of, but I realize I am not attracted to men. I think y'all are gross and disgusting, and most of y'all are ugly. So imagine my horror when I'm like swiping and I think every fucking man is a hideous ogre. It makes it really difficult.
If you guys don't remember, she was the therapist that about 3 years ago got on, made some TikToks, maybe posted them online, basically, telling men that they needed to go to therapy, they needed help, and it was the way she came, got that message across that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And some say she violated a code of ethics, and she was immediately terminated from her position. Then things kind of spiraled out, and as people want to do online, they showcase it, and then she's doing like praise dances, and I think she turned to OnlyFans and asking people for money because she lost her job. And I remember seeing this years ago, and wanting, wishing I was a content creator at that time, just to be able to sort of give my 2 cents in that. And one of the things that we as men, or people that actually believe in therapy and have gone to therapy and advocates for therapy, one of the things we have to be careful of who the therapist is. Not all therapists are created equal. Not all problems are best handled by certain people. She was talking about her 90% of her clientele was men, but the way she felt about men, the way she talked about men, should have been the biggest flag that no male should have gone to her for therapy. But guys, before we do a deeper dive into this one, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Trying to play with audio with this one, so let me know how it sounds. Trying to even things out. It's touch and go, but hopefully small increments over time, small improvements over time, and then we'll get there. So she says she has a lot to say about this, and there's a lot of things that when we pull them apart, we pull them from disparate sources to sort of prove our point. And it's bad reasoning. It's just not a way to really get your point across. But saying like the male loneliness epidemic, something that I think has been championed and furthered by the larger media, including newspapers. But it's not really men going on here talking about how lonely they are. If you ask a group of men, have they experienced loneliness, and you trend that out over some time, yeah, you'll see it. But men aren't largely saying this is the largest problem facing us. But we'll link these things to male deletion, and we'll say, well, it's because you're lonely. Well, there's a lot of pressures put on men, and we as a society, you have to think about it as, you don't have to think about it, but I think about it in this sense. We're churning out a product. And in that machine of a job, these cogs that we are, there's bound to be defects in the products and the cogs. Society at large simply says there's an acceptable amount of loss that they're willing to endure to get their product. It's the same way, give you a different example. There's a reason why most of us are bad at math. Say us to be inclusive, I like math. But there's a reason most of us are bad at math, because when we are taught in elementary school, we're taught in a manner that reaches maybe 65 to 80% of the class. And those that don't get it, there's only so many different ways that the teacher has time, public schools has time to give you a different method of learning because there's a timetable, and believe it or not, there's an acceptable rate of loss that even teaching has. Yes, we would like to not have any child left behind, but in reality, those of us that went, from inner city, inner schools, public schools, know that's the truth. We know that as being adults. There's some of us that are not going to have that dream, and our society does not seem to feel like there's an issue there to be solved. Look at it in terms of your income, in terms of the price of housings, the price of goods, how these things are not in line, in step. This is evidence that, in my opinion, that we have an acceptable loss rate for people, for things, and this is one of those. So when she is talking about male loneliness, right? Society says, okay, this is what we kind of want our males to do, and this is how we direct it. There's an acceptable loss rate. Cool. But men aren't the ones complaining about this. Um, People now saying that the red pill was detrimental to relationships. Absolutely. Right. There's people that took on the red pill and they took that and they leaned into the message, the vitriolic parts of the messaging, and people latched onto that because it's easier to do that than face your own insecurities and inadequacies. It's always easier to do that. There's always going to be a section of people that jump to these things and latch onto them. And there's going to be some that say the red pill movement was about you seeing the world as it is. Full stop. There's no male, there's no female hate, there's no bashing, there's no anti-feminist rhetoric. No, this is the world is. This is the way women are. They're just like men. They're human. That's the red pill to me, right? It's look at the decisions you're making. Stop pedestalizing people that don't deserve to be on a pedestal simply because they were born a certain gender. Back to her rant, and she's very good for rants, very good for rants. But when you're saying, and this is the conundrum, right? Where you're saying that you want a man, but you can't stand men. This is just a reflection of what we see day in, day out on social media. How terrible men are, how awful they are, how they don't get it, how they don't understand, how they're not leaders, they don't make the right decisions. Yet there's still like this desirous nature for one. We understand that there is a set of men that are good enough, right? Whatever number that is, whatever percentage that is, they exist. They're not even to the percentages or the rarity of unicorns. But if they're not in your purview, then that should be a wake up call for you. You can believe what you want and feel the way you want about your own life. No one can take that from you. No one should attempt to take that from you. But if you're not getting the results that you want, you desire from your life, then that should be an indication to you that there's things that you need to change. Full stop. Right there. That's it. That's the crux of it. There's things that you need to change. You hate men, and now you're talking to your therapist about how you're supposed to find a man. There's things that have become just sort of incongruent, right? They exist together, but they shouldn't really. They don't really mix well. Water and oil. If you're fast enough, you can mix them together, but they're all separate. This is just one of those things. You need to take a time out, take time away, and decide what you really want, what's really important. You can live in this sort of misandry for men and still being desirous of that magical one. But this sort of talk, this sort of bearing and presence, it's off-putting to men, and I'm trying to be polite. It's very off-putting to men. The men that you don't like versus the men that you might like. It's very off-putting. It's hard to see past a lot of this laughing about male issues when you yourself are a trained therapist. That's another that's a whole nother video about being careful about choosing your therapist because we all come in this with our own beliefs and our own bias, and those things end up being reflective in how we actually communicate. Listen, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. If you see videos on your screen right now, you got to take a look at those as well. And if you listen to some of my voice right now, you have not subscribed, go ahead and tell me why, but without the hysterical laughing she likes to do.